Hello and welcome back. My name is Gavin Fish and this is my channel. I appreciate you stopping by. Today we're going to continue our look into the death of 54-year-old Father Joe Moreno, the Roman Catholic parish priest who on October 13th, 2012 was found dead in his rectory at St. Lawrence Church in East Buffalo. Today we're going to take a closer look at the gun that was found at the crime scene and try to figure out where that gun came from and kind of get into those details. Now, if you're not familiar with this case, I will leave a link below to my previous video on Father Joe. You can be brought up to speed. I did kind of an introductory video on that. Before I really dig into this, though, I just want to take a moment and thank my patrons over on Patreon that make my work possible. If you feel like you like my content, you like my mission and what I'm doing, and you want to support me, that is where you go. I'll leave a link down in the description, and I appreciate you all. Whether you can support me financially or not, I'm glad that you stopped by. Okay, so once again, this is an actual crime scene photo of the gun that was found in the rectory. It was actually found next to Father Joe as he sat in his recliner. Somebody, whether it was a police officer or EMT or firefighter of some sort, took the gun and they put it in this plastic Ziploc bag. They emptied the gun of its bullets, and those were in the bag as well. Now, in my last video, I got a couple of comments asking where the gun, well, asking, you know, did the police do a gunshot residue test on Father Joe's hands, and was there stippling on the gun? Lots of those questions came in. We don't actually know what we believe, based on a conversation that Sue had with police, is that police thought that this was an open and shut case of suicide, and so they did not bag or test Father Joe's hands at the scene. And the gun itself, as I look at it, looks extremely clean. I don't see, and it's very difficult, of course, to look at such low quality photos, even zoomed up like this, but I don't see any blood anywhere on the firearm itself. And I feel like if there were blood, it would have rubbed off somewhere on the plastic bag itself. So to me, the gun looks clean, like somebody wiped it off. So those are the answers to those questions that you guys had before about the gun. Yeah, no gunshot residue test. And the wound itself, which I'm not going to show in this video because it's graphic, it does look like a contact wound. And I'm sorry, it's on this side. It looks like a contact wound. You can actually see the barrel shape, including the front sight. So I have no doubt that this is the gun that killed Father Joe. My doubts are simply that he did not. My doubt is that whether or not he did it to himself. And you can take a look at the first video for me to go into detail about that. Okay, now what do we know about this gun? We actually know quite a bit, and I'm going to show you guys a letter from a woman. She was a parishioner of Father Joe's. Her name is Carol Curtin. I have, in the original document, I don't have any of this blacked out. I just felt like, probably for good measure, I probably shouldn't put addresses out there on the internet, but this woman, her name was Carol Curtin. She was a parishioner of Father Joe's, and on May 12th, 2015, she wrote a letter at Sue Moreno's request. She had told this story over and over and over again, but Sue asked her to put it down on paper, and we're very glad that she did. She has not passed away, but she is an elderly woman, and so there is some concern that we might lose this witness. So I just want to read this letter to you guys. It states, "To whom it may concern, I have been asked to give details of a .38 revolver that was my deceased grandfather's handgun. Probably before I get into this, I should show you that the police ran a trace on this gun, and they found that it was originally owned by a man named Thomas Costello in Kenmore, New York, and that it was purchased in 1969. There are no other owners of this gun. So it was purchased by Mr. Costello, and he got it in 1969. Okay, let's go back to Ms. Curtin. So she said, I've been asked to give details of a .38 revolver that was my deceased grandfather's handgun. My grandfather bought the gun for protection due to the fact that he owned his own business. His name, Thomas A. Costello. She gives his date of birth, his address in Kenmore, New York. With my step-grandmother, Josephine Costello, so on and so forth. He purchased the gun over 40 years at a company on Sheridan Drive, town of Tonawanda, New York. In 1998, my step-grandmother, Josephine Costello, sold me their home, located in Kenmore, New York. She passed away on February 2nd, 2008. At the time, she was living at an assisted facility and nursing home, and there is her address. Okay. Upon moving in, I discovered 2 handguns in the hall closet, one belonging to my brother, which was returned to him, and the .38 revolver. I wanted the gun to be destroyed of legally and properly. My girlfriend's brother, her girlfriend being Sue Marino, was a chaplain for the Buffalo Police Department. That chaplain, of course, being Father Joe Marino. Okay, who I contacted for directions on what to do. In the fall of 1998, Reverend Joseph F. Marino and a Buffalo police officer, Robert Yates. I do have a photo of Mr. Yates. It is right there. That is Mr. Yates. Let me close that. Sorry about that. Okay. So Mr. Yates came with Father Joe to Ms. Curtin's home to pick up the gun to destroy it. I handed the gun directly to Officer Yates inside the kitchen of my home. Officer Yates was wearing a brown leather bomber jacket and was not in police uniform. Again, I think she means to say, I emphasize, I handed the gun directly to him and he put it in his side jacket pocket. He did not put it in a plastic bag, and when I asked for a receipt, he said he did not have one to give me. There were no other accessories belonging with the gun, i.e. box of bullets, holster. Officer Yates told me he was going to destroy it, and I believed him. He also told me that he had to get home to his family and about his twin girls. He then left. Father Joe remained at the house, and we sat at the kitchen table talking for about 10 minutes. I proceeded to give Father Joe 2 bags of coins for a donation to his church. Then we both left. In 2014, I received a home visit from Lieutenant Rich Ortiz of the Buffalo Police Department Internal Affairs. He informed me that the gun was found at a crime scene on October 13th, 2012, in which Father Joe Marino was killed. He asked who I turned the gun into and the events leading up to Officer Yates removing the gun from my home in 1998. He showed me a picture of a police officer, and I identified him as Officer Robert Yates. During this 14-year period, I assumed the .38 revolver was destroyed per my instructions. So, according to Ms. Curtin here, she handed over the gun to Officer Bobby Yates, Officer Robert Yates. He is known. He's known by the Marino family. They were friends. They call him Bobby. He took possession of the handgun. So then the question that I have at that point is, okay, well then how did that handgun 14 years later end up at a crime scene or let's call it a death scene. I believe it's a crime scene, but let's call it a scene of Father Joe's death, where Father Joe had either killed himself with it, or more likely, to my mind, in my opinion, was killed with it. And I don't have an answer to that question, but there are a couple of scenarios that come to mind. Those who would believe that Father Joe killed himself would probably say Officer Yates and Father Joe were friends, and so when they met up the next time, he asked Father Joe if he wanted the gun, and he gave him the gun. That's one scenario. Now, I don't believe that scenario because Father Joe actually had a registered handgun. It was a .357 revolver, so it was a much larger gun. It was registered, and he had a license to carry it and frequently practiced with it. And the reason that he did that, if you'll go back to my last video to get a little more detail on this, but he had been attacked in his parish, and his hand had been injured to the point of him not being able to use it. So, and by the way, that gun was missing from Father Joe's rectory when it was searched. That gun was never found. Though he owned it, he was known to have owned it, he had a license to carry it, and he practiced with it at the shooting range operated by the Buffalo Police Department. So, or at least a shooting range that law enforcement used. So I personally don't believe that scenario is the case. Another scenario could be that Officer Yates did as he said he was going to do, and he turned in the gun for it to be destroyed, and somebody else at the Buffalo Police Department took it, thought, free gun, I'm going to keep this gun. I guess that's a possibility. Another possibility, and I'm not saying this happened, but another possibility might be that Officer Yates thought that's a really cool 1960s era, snub-nosed .38 revolver, I want to keep it, and he kept it. And it's also possible that he kept it for all those years, those 14 years, or that he sold it or gave it to somebody else. I mean, the problem with this is that there's no provenance on this gun other than the trace that police did on it. Let me show this back to you again. Where they did a trace just 4 days or 5 days, 4 days after Father Joe died, or they requested it just 2 days after Father Joe died. They received it a couple days later. The only provenance of this Smith & Wesson Model 36 is that it was owned by Thomas Costello in Kenmore, New York, and that he got it in 1969 from a gun shop in Tonawanda, New York. So I guess that is the answer to the question, the questions that I got in the comments about the gun found at the scene of Father Joe Marino's, in my opinion, homicide. And with that, I guess I will just one more time thank all of you who are supporting me by sharing these videos, by watching these videos, or being a supporter on Patreon. I appreciate each and every one of you. With that, I will bid you adieu, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below.